green is everywhere. Green is like the new the new black. So that's just still a preference that I've loved because green again helps connects us to things that are natural, that nature aesthetic. It brings us kind of the outdoors, indoors. And so we're using green everywhere and I'm loving it. I think it's here to stay for a while. I don't think it's just a trend, but I think we're going to see more of the green in a lot of different patterns with the towels and all of that as well.
Hi, I want to welcome everyone to the Posner Property Perspective. It's very exciting today because we have the founder of Decor Interiors with us, and we're going to be talking the wellness of home interiors and what it means to have a home that's inviting and you feel good when you walk in. And not only is it important for when you purchase your home afterwards and you're doing your decor, but we're going to talk about staging and the feeling that people get when they walk into a home, how important it is, and how it needs to be your personal retreat. So with no further introduction, we're going to go on. So welcome to the Posner Property Perspective. And tell us a little bit about your company, how you got into this.
Thank you, Jeannie. I appreciate that. And I'm really happy to be here. I'm Lanada Duncan with Decors Interiors. And I'm always happy to, first of all, to talk about interior design, home staging, and more importantly, the values of wellness design and how it does play a huge impact into our experience of home. It definitely is something that you're hearing more and more every day, whether it be in the news industry or news media or in the design industry. We're realizing that more and more people are understanding and needing the value of a wellness interior and wellness design in their homes. And I think a lot of it stemmed from the COVID, of course, the pandemic time period where we had to retreat to our homes. We realized that our homes didn't always, or at the time, maybe not had the setting that we wanted and that we needed. And so we're seeing more people now understand the idea of home being a sanctuary, right? And we're noticing that buyers too are looking for the type of home, even if it's got the bare bones of it, but where they can kind of create that type of aesthetic and environment for themselves and their families. So we're seeing buyers looking for particular things, whether it be exteriors where they can really have like an outdoor living setting and things like that, which is important as well, because being in the home all the time was a little bit challenging for us during the pandemic, and we needed to have some kind of outdoor, activity. And so having that exteriors that allowed us to kind of set up that type of environment was really important, right? But in the design world, I'm just glad that more and more people are talking about it because it has a lot of benefits from a physical perspective, a mental perspective. It's all important. So our environments plays a lot in how productive we are, just stress relieving. And we've got a lot of challenges as we enter into the world. So it's really important to at least set our homes up so that they can be the retreats that we need them to be.
One of the things that I like to talk about with my clients is when they are moving, say, from up north or from a really big home. And let's say they went from a 4,000 square foot home to a 2,600 square foot home. And I remind them that the furniture that they bought in that other home was bought maybe 15, 20 years ago. And now they're moving to a different environment in maybe a smaller space. I do a lot of senior citizens who are trying to get closer to family. And I said, sometimes you want a slightly different feel in this new place. And
Yes.
don't be so, yes, I believe in family heirlooms, but I also think you need to have this new chapter of your life, have a new fresh feel to it.
Yes. Yes.
Maybe it's adding different textures to the home, different fabrics.
Yes.
I don't know. What have you seen, like, for example, with window treatments? How has that changed recently? I think that's been a big.
Yeah, well, we all want ease, right? And more functionality out of these things. And so what we are seeing is that still is the case, even for seniors, and they need that as well. So, of course, with technology advances, we're seeing a lot more things now be more smart friendly, which means you can operate them on your phone, whether it be shades or, the curtain rods have a mechanism in them that allows you to press a button and it just opens up and, allows you to let in some natural sunlight. And that's important. It's natural light is just huge. Matter of fact, that should be one of the primary lights, of course, in our home. So having a home that allows you to have a lot of natural light is important. We have people, of course, that are looking for homes. And one of the main important things is how much natural light does it get? Because we understand the volume of that vitamin D and, and that allowing us to help us focus. And it also is, if we can control that light with filtering curtains or drapes and things like that, have a light filtering mechanism, then we're able to kind of throughout the day have the type of or make the adjustments that we need. There are also advances in technology that allows us to, incorporate settings in our home of the other primary lighting layers of lighting that will allow us to, based on the time of day, where the home is positioned during that time of day, to have the amount of light that we need to be able to function well. So you can create really the type of environment and setting from a lighting perspective that you need that supports your quality of life. So that's one of the advances that we're seeing, even with window treatments and things like that. There's a lot of products that, from a wellness perspective, that more advances are made that gives you a sustainable product that you can use that is more hypoallergenic friendly, that really is made out of more like bamboo products, things like that in your shading. So there are a lot of different ways that we can go. And we've got a senior community that is also interested in these types of things that can function well, where they can be aging in place in the proper type of setting that's healthy for them as well. So a lot of those advances are coming on, and we're happy to see that because these things, again, are very important to our health and wellness.
The important when we're doing health and wellness, I like to talk about, and I know this doesn't quite, we do like testing for mold and testing for radon. And we also, when we're looking at flooring, for example,
Yes.
they realized that certain of the glues they were using, certain of the woods, not the vinyl plank flooring had formaldehyde in it. So
Mhm.
when you're looking at how maybe doing flooring or making suggestions, what kind of things do you tell them in reference to the wellness, what they're bringing into the home?
Yeah, I mean, it's really good to, even us as designers, we're learning about these new products as they hit the market all the time. And again, to add to even what I was saying previously with these advances in technology, they are allowing these companies, a lot of our vendors, to make products that are healthier because they too realize that this is important and this is what the market is demanding, right? And so even with things like flooring, there's been from flooring to paint with low VOCs to all of these things, it's important to realize that there are products that are out there that are more naturally man-made. And so it's important to read before you're making the selections, as you're speaking with, and we do the same thing, we're going into these showrooms and we're asking our preferred vendors to specifically look for products that are made with more natural materials and don't have these materials that will make our clients sick. So we want materials that are more natural. We want materials that are emitting uh, less things
Yeah.
or products in the air that our clients and their families are breathing in, basically. So I think it's important to educate yourself on the product before you're making the selection. Even the manufacturing company that's making these items, that's important as well. And so there are more products hitting the market. And as these things continue to grow and become more available to us, as we learn more, it's great to be able to share these things with our clients as well so that they can continue to know that their homes are healthier in a lot of different ways, from flooring to window treatments to paint to all of these to even the furnishings that they're putting in there.
And when we're talking about wellness, are there certain colors that you're finding are more soothing and comforting to people? What do you see the new trends as going?
It's been the past couple of years, it's been the years of color. It's where actually people are wanting more color, and that's good to see. Although we still have a large community of people that still like the neutrals, the softer neutrals, which I think is good to remember that while it's important because sometimes the lighter colors, the neutral colors help you feel more relaxed, some people need color and it just depends on the client, right? And so there are a lot of different ways to introduce other colors. There are a lot of different shades of a color. So let's say a client likes blues and they want something, and blue relaxes them. And so we like to get deeper into what shades of blue. We'll bring a lot of different paint samples or selections where they can kind of choose the different shades that helps them relax, regardless of what that color is. So maybe a bolder blue is not the one that makes them relax. It might energize them or make them feel, give them more energy, so to speak. And so that might not be the blue, depending on the room the choice of that we're working on that works best for them. It may be a softer blue. So it's good to know that even in the colors that we're seeing used more with clients that prefer neutral colors like a soft tans, off white, and we're seeing a lot of that even mixed in with grays or blacks and then maybe metals or things like that. While we can work with that, we still like to tell them, well, it's important to maybe introduce a color and maybe do that with nature. For instance, maybe bring in the plant, some greenery, where you can throw in some other colors there to not just take them away from what makes them feel comfortable, but to make them feel connected. And nature is a great way of doing that. So that's why biophilic design is important, because it brings in hints and perceptions and pieces of nature to help them still feel connected. So while the neutrals is relaxing them, we want them now to feel connected to nature, to mankind, to the community, and things like that. So bringing in these other pops of nature aesthetics and things like that will help them do that. But from color perspective, it all over the charts. It's a lot of still of the blues. It's definitely been the year of green. We're seeing green everywhere, from countertops to rugs to sofas. Green is everywhere. Green is like the new black. So that's just still a preference that I've loved, because green again helps connects us to things that are natural, that nature aesthetic. It brings us kind of the outdoors, indoors. And so we're using green everywhere and I'm loving it. I think it's here to stay for a while. I don't think it's just a trend. But I think we're going to see more of the green in a lot of different patterns with towels and all of that as well.
You also help with the staging. So do you bring in your own the furniture, or do you stage with what they have and just do accents? Tell me a little about your staging. This is for when the
Sure.
seller is trying to get their home ready to sell for those,
Yeah.
and you come in.
Yeah, so the type of staging that we do is a little bit different from the majority of staging companies of what they offer, but we do occupied staging. There are companies out there, designers that do occupied staging, that are just staging companies that do occupied staging. And what that is basically your seller may be still living in the home, and they've got a lot of things that they've collected over the years. That happens. It happens to all of us. But many times they need help, and the agent may have a challenge getting the seller to maybe disconnect themselves from some items for a moment, so that the home can be presented and make it more marketable. Because our sellers and our homeowners they're used to having their things near them, and they don't want to change that necessarily until they're not in the home anymore. That's understandable, but yet they want their home to sell. Well, the buyer may not be as connected to those items as the seller is, of course, right? So we have to depersonalize the space. We have to go into the home, walk the space, take an inventory and do an assessment of the type of products and things that or furnishings and the decor that's available to us, that the seller has, that can be used. And then maybe do some editing, basically, right? Of the things that need to be moved to storage or boxed up or put away, so that the home can be presentable, can be appealing to the usual buyer who would be looking at that home. And that's what occupied staging does. We come in, We do that type of editing and assessing. The furniture, we say, well, this chair is great, the sofa is great, the tables are great. We kind of go through those things and say, but it could use maybe some accessorizing. Maybe we change out the pillows to make the space more, again, more attractive to the general market. And so while we can support and do shopping and source for accessories or things like that, it's the larger items because we generally don't have storage spaces for these, but we can use some of the items that the seller has and then kind of mix that in with some other items to present the home as a more marketable property. We want to make sure that in the long run, you're selling this home fast and you're selling this home for the most value that you can possibly sell it for, right? So we want to make this property as attractive as we can to the obvious buyer who's going to come through that house and look at it and say, I can see myself living here. And that's what we're doing with that. There's also a virtual staging piece that we can offer as well. Generally, when you're staging a property, you may be doing some of the most basic spaces, that being like the kitchen, the dining room, the living room, the primary bedroom. Those primary spaces are going to be important, right? Because those are generally the spaces that the buyer is going to be looking for to see, to kind of put themselves in the position of to see themselves living in there. But let's just say that, you want to give the buyer an idea of what the other areas of the home can look like, whether it be the exterior or another bedroom and, making another bedroom into a nursery or something like that. Virtual staging allows for us to make the home attractive before the buyer even gets there to the property, right? And so you can set up a 3D setting of this home already staged, already looking beautiful and pretty and marketable. And that will kind of entice the buyers to even want to come. I definitely want to see that house. And I think that kind of is a way to just kind of wet their palates a little bit before they even get to the property.
But you bring up a good point because we've been for the last like 10 years, well, pretty much we were in a seller's market. It's now
Yes,
changed. It's now a buyer's market. And the first place that buyers look, it's online. Doesn't matter what setting, but they're looking online. And we just have a few seconds to catch their eyes. If those
yes,
photos aren't good and if the furnishing and everything isn't inviting, they're just going to swipe on to the next. Uh,
absolutely.
so that's where the staging, be it virtual, be it in reality, it really helps. And I like it when the home itself is staged so that people can see the placement of the furniture. A lot of times, for a lot of years, everyone was going into open concept.
Mhm.
And the flippers or people living in a home were taking down walls, but all of a sudden the rooms didn't have maybe definition. And by
Right.
staging it, and maybe putting some areas of showing how people could gather in different spaces helps people and visualize it.
It
Um,
absolutely does. It absolutely does. Yeah, and I think that that is the value that one, I think it's the supportive measure of what we do to our realtors that we work with, our agents, because sometimes it's hard for a client and a seller to understand these things, right? That these things are needed in order to really kind of, again, raise the
Show
appeal
the
of the
best light.
property thing. Exactly. And so we see ourselves definitely as a partner to the agent and then as a partner to the seller, because as you said, the way the market's been, it's important to that their property be competitive to what's out there in the market. And we all know that and you and I know, I should say for sure, that a stage property tends to sell faster. Is that correct?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so given that situation, we want to even, again, like you said, raise the appeal to where get them into the property first. And so a lot of times the virtual staging's been doing that. And that too is becoming a growing kind of phenomenon is that virtual staging is very helpful and supportive with that. You may have a buyer that's looking at that property that's not even in, the area and can't come in person to look at that property. And many times people will buy a property sight unseen. And so
Which
go ahead.
it amazes me because until COVID, I've never done that. And since COVID
Okay.
now, I've done several homes where
Right.
I'm doing video tours. They're never seeing the property, and that amazes me. But
Yeah.
it does
Yeah.
happen where if people are relocating and they have to work quickly, And then sometimes we've tried to fly them down like during the due diligence, like come on down. But I've had clients who they may have had a family member or friend in Atlanta see the house, but they haven't walked into the house until they're moving in.
Right,
Amazes
right.
me. Thankfully,
No,
they've all worked out happy and we were able to be
right,
I'm able to work with people and see what they like and get a sense of them. A few of my clients have always said, Jeannie, we didn't even realize we wanted things you knew about
yeah,
just from listening. And another thing I think your company can help with is when they buy the home and they need help with design. So
yes,
then, you come in and you can help them bring in the textures and bring in the colors and make an environment that's healthy for them, healthy for their children, gives them an area to just feel at home with, especially when you're making a big move from going from maybe a different state and you're relocating. It's so important that your home feels inviting and feels comfortable and secure when you're making all those changes.
right. Jeannie, I think part of it is, our homes are such a part of us. And, we definitely want them to reflect our personality, our quality of life. And sometimes people just need help with that, and that is totally okay. I think that when you've got a buyer too, whether it's a first time home buyer or newlywed couple, and you're combining two different home environments, and you're bringing that into one, that can pose a challenge to a lot of people. And so working with the designer, what we like to do is tell our agents that, we want to continue to work with you. And one of the ways to do that is not just through your listings, but it's also is to give your clients a gift certificate to help them get started to creating this type of living environment. And from a wellness perspective, while you have buyers looking for that type of aesthetic in their home and those types of staging those kinds of pieces and rooms and things like that, you also have people that may not even understand or know yet they need it, and it's not until we actually kind of create, I always want to make it personalized. So we always want to customize the home so that the people living in it feel like this is a living experience that I want every day. We want you to can't not be able to wait to come home, right? And so that's a part of everything they create in every room. We want you to think about your home when you're not even there. But it's important to be able to know that you've got a partner in creating these things. And when we incorporate the neural things that are neuroaesthetically pleasing, from textures to layers of lighting to biophilia, which is the nature perspective, all of these things combined together bring so much harmony that when you walk into your home, it truly is an experience that you didn't even know you needed. You know what I mean? Or you knew you needed it, but didn't know how to achieve it. That's a part of what we want to create for home buyers. And so just imagine having that when that home buyer needs some more support in that area. One, they're going to look to us. And two, when they want to create that in a secondary home or whatever, they're going to remember that agent who really understood the value and the importance of them having a home like that. So I think it's a win-win all the way around for everyone. But that's the type of relationship we want to build with our agents. It's something that to me goes far beyond that one-time experience.
Interesting you brought up when you're combining two households. So for 25 years, my husband and I owned a bridal store. So a lot of my customers have been brides. I always joke around. I went from saying yes to the dress to yes to the address. And when you're
Oh, that was
when you're merging these two households
yes,
and you have people who maybe they've always lived in apartments and now all of a sudden they're getting their first home.
yes,
And, I always tell them you don't have to furnish the whole house in one day. So working with someone who can help them maybe focus on some key pieces and envision what the whole house will look like.
yes,
And that's really important because, some of our guys, when they still look like their dorm college apartment. And we
yes.
want to help them now get into a home
Yeah,
and make it feel inviting. And maybe all of a sudden, now, a lot of times they may be going from that starter home to the a bigger home because they're having children and how
right.
to make a home safe for children. And
Absolutely.
our senior adults, they have to have a home that's going to be safe and moving around. And this is where you can come in with all your experience to help them develop that home, take some of the pieces that they love, but maybe add some new key pieces and give them that feeling of home. That's what it's
Right.
all about, is to make it feel like their new inviting home. Uh,
Absolutely. And, for many of them, they're already making a mindset shift, right? By combining two homes or taking in an elderly loved one or bringing in a new child, so it's a life shift and it's a mindset shift, honestly. And so bringing that into your physical space is really something that, again, stress relieving. And that's really important because stress affects us in so many different ways. And, as far as our health goes, for sure, and then physically and all of that. And so I feel like what we do is an extension of medicine, so perspective, so to speak. But it's,
homeopathic.
yeah, it's an extension of that because really the environment has so much to do with how we feel, how we interact with others, how productive we are, how focused we can be. A lot of people some are still working from home. And so, when we know that we've got an area that our elderly parent can retreat to that's theirs, that they can feel comfortable, we built in comfort, we built in functionality, we built in, all of these things that are going to help them really, again, enjoy their experience as well as the other areas of their home. That's extremely important to us. If you live in a home and you can't see yourself at peace in it, that is a problem. And that's going to affect you in so many other areas. I believe that. And so that's just the foundation, I feel like, of what makes our business different, is that we are really passionate about that. Because we've seen the difference that it can make. There is evidence of these things that I'm saying. It's not just things that I feel. There's evidence of how environments can impact, or from a work environment or a living environment can impact and affect our health. There's evidence of what biophilic design can do. You've got a whole community in Chattahoochee Hills called Serenbe that's built around this
Love
design
Saturday.
aesthetic. Me too. And so you see what he's done up there, what Steve Nugent's done up there, Negrin has done up there is just amazing. And he's built a whole community with these ideas that's working. And you ask him and he'll tell you the children are seeing less asthma effects. There's a lot of things that has been improving the health of the people that live in this community, but it starts in one home. So again, this design idea is taking hold of many people. Buyers are looking for a home that can give them this type of experience. And there are ways to present any home to show them that you can have this type of experience even in this home. It's just a way of helping them see that. It's just about helping them see that before they can see it in the physical, see it kind of in the psychological, so to
Well,
speak.
it's been great sharing all this information with you today. We're going to have all
Thank
the
you.
information and
Thank
how we can contact you, and BE
Okay.
Decors Interiors will be below. Want to thank you for sharing this. We want everyone to feel at home in their home. That's what it's
Yeah.
all about. It has to be that welcoming experience. I want to thank everyone for joining us today.
Thank you much. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning into the Posner Property Perspective. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and found it helpful as you navigate your real estate journey. Remember, whether you're buying, selling, or just exploring the market, I'm here to help to make the process smooth, exciting, and stress-free. Let's take the next step together. Contact me today. I'd love to hear from you and make your real estate wishes come true.